It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Welcome into Purple Daily, and not only are we presented by our friends at Surly Brewing Company, it's Judd, Dex, Phil will join us for Purple. Write that down. Very nice chilled glass with his predictions pre-recorded, but there's so many exciting things to tell you about right now.
Is there?
At Surly.
I'm going to crack one as you say this, by the way.
Okay, let me tell you about something right now. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, at the Surly Brew Hall, the Growler is back. We are recording this, full disclosure, on Tuesday night because of our schedule. I'm going to be at Vikings practice on Wednesday morning. And as Declan pours his beer, I want to tell you about the Growler. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first Growler sold at Surly. I believe the last date of one sold before this very one, was December 31st, 2008.
Wow.
Today, they got
16.
all of the paperwork in order from the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis, where, yes, that's right, the Growler is back at Surly. And, Declan, here's the exciting thing. So, when it comes to Furious, right? That's sold at liquor stores. And you don't want to be like, well, I'm going to sell a growler of that, because you know what? You can go to your local liquor store, right? So, Declan, here's where you're going to love this.
Okay.
What Surly is selling in their growlers from the brew hall are the beers exclusively on tap at Surly, which you have like 3 or 4 you love.
Yeah, I do.
So the point is, you can get, if you find a beer at Surly exclusively, and you're like,
my Warp Zone. That's one of my
exactly.
tap house exclusive.
In fact, I think this might be Warp Zone.
Oh, awesome.
That's exactly right. So anyway, Surly Brew Hall, University off of Malcolm.
Mm-hmm. Great spot.
Warp Zone, other beers that you only can find there. I give you the Growler.
I love it.
Good
for the Growlers. Good for Surly, man. Love it.
The Growler. So anyway, I thought that would excite you greatly. So it is time for Purple Daily on Wednesday. Write that down. It will be Judd. It will be Declan. It will be Mark weighing in as our guest predictor, and Phil Mackey, who I think for the last week now, because I think he's going to be back in tow completely next week, has been at Hubbard Corporate Things. He's in Chicago a lot this week. We will be providing you our predictions, which will be exclusively National Football League or Vikings. Declan, take it away with the rest of what we have to say before Mark.
Most make predictions and then never admit they're wrong. Yeah, that's not Mackie and Judd. This is the place where we just totally own our horrible predictions. Write this down. And eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Write that down. It's Write That Down. Write it down. You like writing things down? With Mackie and Judd.
All right. Write that down. As Judd Zolgad beautifully put it. 3 predictions each week. Everything must be quantifiable. We keep track of completion percentage. We keep track of touchdowns. If you'd like to join, write that down. Shoot us an email through the Score North app. I believe I have some openings on this show late September when the NFL season's to go. So no more CFL predictions, Judd. No more USFL predictions for me for now. I should say for now. You never know. Okay. You never know. And they could be show related too, but regardless, they have to be quantifiable. They have to be football related. So let's waste no more time. Let's get into our accountability session, Judd. A couple things off the board, but one hit for you. You did say Kellen Mond will drop or fumble at least one snap against the Raiders. And that did not happen.
Judd.
Kellen Mond was great. I don't know what you're talking about.
Kellen Mond was Montana. Judd.
Yeah, it was. So that's incorrect. You said Amir Smith-Marset will catch a touchdown pass against the Raiders. I believe 2 grabs for Amir. And was he the one that was wide open down the pylon that Kellen Mond slapped with the football?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
yes,
regardless, it was wrong. However, you did say Greg Joseph won't miss a field goal or extra point against the Raiders. Ding.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Ding for you there.
3 immediate predictions, which Declan's always complaining I don't make immediate predictions.
Yeah, I can't fault you there. I'm going to take a sip for every right prediction I see. I can't do wrongs or I might be hammered by the end. Mackie said Kellen Mond will be sacked and or intercepted 4 times or more against the Raiders. Did he get sacked at all? Actually, I don't even remember if he got sacked.
And then he came at me on Monday's show like, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah. He'd give me do. Why not?
I don't know.
Internal option. Why don't you trade away an asset? Yeah, that's Phil. A good week for the listeners, though, and good weeks for Matt here specifically. He said the Before I Die beer will be served at U.S. Bank Stadium. And Judd, did we even touch on this?
No, we didn't. And should we show it at some point here?
We should.
I happen to have a can right in front of me.
There it is. There you go, buddy.
Okay, this is going to be available starting. It's available now during concerts. I think it started to be available during the Kenny Chesney show at U.S. Bank Stadium. This will be available, though, Vikings fans, Purple fans. I don't know if I can really say
beer fans.
Vikings, beer fans, Purple fans, Purple Daily fans. This will be available Saturday night. Before I Die craft lager from our friends at Surly. And I'm going to tell you right now, this can, extremely cool. I love this beer is absolutely delicious. We actually sold this. I think we unveiled it during the draft, our draft party at Surly. It went away after that. Before I Die, U.S. Bank Stadium, starting Saturday night. Sip on one and enjoy.
Love that. So the Before I Die beer, ready to rock. Look at Score North just infiltrating Vikings HQ there. I love that. We all just want to see the Vikings win Super Bowl before we die. Matt also said at some point during training camp, Judd will rant on Purple Daily that he doesn't like something happening at Vikings related. I can't specifically, and Phil's the one who scores this. I can't specifically remember what he said, but knowing you definitely complain a lot.
It's probably Mond.
And it's clearly not a touchdown, No. So Matt was correct. A good week for Matt. 2 for 2 there. That'll boost the listeners' accountability there. All right, we'll continue on. We'll keep chugging. Week for old Dex tweets here. I said Kellen Mond will attempt at least 15 passes against the Raiders. He had 14.
Yep. And then he got lifted.
He had 14 because he had to be splitting snaps. I believe Kevin Seifert tweeted out the snap count. 26 for Mond, 25. Why did Manning come back? I just needed one more passing attempt.
To split the snap count.
And to hose me.
You know why.
KOC came on this show, and you probably heard me say this.
He doesn't like you. He told me, he pulled me off to the side. He goes, I don't like the guy with... He claims that your hair is a threat to him.
Well, he's kind of balding. I mean, I don't really...
Wow.
I get it. He wears a hat for a reason. If it helps Kevin O'Connell's esteem anymore, my beloved girlfriend thinks he's very attractive. So, Kevin, you got that.
He's a good-looking guy. I'm not going to lie. He's a good-looking guy.
All right, 2022 statistics. Phil Mackey leading with a 36.2 completion percentage, 5 touchdowns. I am leading in the touchdown department, at least 7 touchdowns, but a 33.8 completion percentage. Judd Zolgad climbing his way out of that basement. 29.5 percentage, a couple touchdowns. The listeners with 4 touchdowns and 26.2 completion percentage.
Did Phil just pass you this week?
No, I think he passed me 2 weeks ago, recently.
Growler.
And then he obviously went over. I went over, so that doesn't help. And nice little beer pour there from Judd. Hey, bye. It's not bad at all. By the way, before we get our guy Mark on here to make some predictions, why don't you head up to Braden International Raceway this weekend, okay? You got Moto America coming. It's fast Indy cars coming right at your face, 330 miles per hour of that NOS and adrenaline. I can't guarantee Surly is up there, but I'm assuming it is. Getting a nice cold one. BIRMN.com for tickets. That's Braden International Raceway. It's going to be an absolute blast up there. Go check it out. Excuse me, the Lucas Oil Nationals, I should say. They have Moto America the last. I get all of them mixed up because it's just
don't screw up the read
out there. All right, Lucas Oil Nationals this weekend at Braden International Raceway. Get your tickets and camping information. BIRMN.com. All right, let's get our guy Mark in here to make some predictions here. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Glad to be here. Really excited about this. I've been a big fan for many years.
Thank you very much.
Mark told us off air that he's been a fan of Judd for so long. He remembers his even old radio days, the early days of 1500 ESPN. So he knows Judd for a long.
Yeah.
You might go back to Star Tribune days when I was covering the Vikings.
I think you were, if I remember right. And then I remember you and Funds would have Suhan would come on for a little bit there. And that was one of my favorite shows. I really enjoyed that one.
Well, thank you very much.
And then I hung on until the afternoon to watch Royce and Mackey.
There you go.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mark, what is your earliest Vikings memory?
So I was too young for the Kansas City Super Bowl loss to Kansas City. but I shed a few tears when we lost to the Raiders and the Steelers. So it started pretty young. My family was a big football fan, especially Grandpa.
I feel like the Chiefs' loss was devastating, probably because I think they were favored by double digits, if I'm not mistaken. But after that, the next three were incredibly tough.
Yeah.
Like those were three really good franchises.
Well, I
Steelers,
remember
Dolphins, and Raiders at the time.
Yeah, I remember sitting with a friend talking about the Raiders Super Bowl coming up, and we were like, "This is like a few days before the Super Bowl." We were both going, "Looks like we might lose this one." The Raiders are pretty good. So
isn't that amazing? Like Mark going to school and talking to his buddy and being like, "I think we actually might lose this Super Bowl," and where I'm just like, "Can we get to a Super Bowl?"
Well, Mark
here?
never probably thought they'll never make a Super Bowl again after this.
Yeah.
That would not occur to you as the Vikings were going through the 70s of damn good franchise to they might never make a Super Bowl and they're going to lose NFC championship games in heart-wrenching fashion.
Yeah, that was right there the crux when things really started changing, was that last Super Bowl.
Hey, for you, with your background in watching this team in Super Bowls, in retrospect now, which is the most painful championship game loss?
It would be the what was it, Drew Pearson, the interference call.
Okay, but that was a division. I think that was a divisional round.
But still a playoff game, right?
But I'm saying like we got 87, 98, 2009. Like of all the years that you thought they're going back, which one? 98?
I would have thought it was going to be when Favre was there. The way he was slinging it that year. And I just thought for sure. So I knew the Saints were going to be tough, but the way he was slinging that ball.
He was great that year.
Yeah, he was great.
Absolutely.
All right, Mark. We'll get into our predictions here. You're going to lead us off here under center. So your first prediction here, sir, write that down.
Okay, I got a couple softies.
Okay.
I got one softie and two bold ones. And my bold one, I think we'll kick off with a bold one right away here.
All right.
This season, and I'm defining that by the rest of the preseason, the regular season, and then if we get into the postseason, this season, at least 4 different Vikings will complete a touchdown pass.
Whoa.
So I'm thinking, obviously, Cousins, whoever the backup's going to be. Then I can kind of see Thielen doing something. I'm thinking Thielen to Jefferson, something like that. And then who knows? KOC will have to get creative and find one for me.
I like this, actually.
Don't sleep on Jefferson. So last year in training camp, Jefferson threw the ball a ton at the end of practice, and he's got a great arm.
There we go.
This year, I've watched, he stopped. And here's my theory. I think O'Connell has I think he is basically trying to keep some things private. And I think it's interesting because like we would record Jefferson throwing passes because he throws a nice ball a year ago. And now it's just totally stopped. I wonder if you're right. And I wonder if it's Cousins, like let's say Mond, Jefferson, and then a fourth guy. I love that prediction.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think that KOC is just gonna try and open it up,
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, and honestly, because if Sean Mannion and Kellen Mond throw at least one more, that's 2. Kirk's obviously going to throw one. I love this. That's a great prediction here. I love that.
I wish I thought of it, actually.
That's a good one. All right, Judley.
All right, Kel. I'm going to go with a trifecta of quarterback predictions, starting with the Vikings one. Okay. Kellen Mond will make the 53-man roster in the final cuts, which is going to be 3 weeks from Tuesday.
Big Mark, is that your house with the motorcycle going by?
I live, if you know West St. Paul, I live on Smith Avenue. So yeah.
Oh yes.
Nice.
All right.
That sounds like a nice
cycle.
All right, Kellen Mond will make the Vikings 53-man roster out of training camp, but he will open the season as the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart. So I still think they're going to go out and get a backup. So it might be Mannion. I don't think it will be. But I think they're going to have a Kirk at 1, somebody else at 2, and when the first regular season depth chart is released, Mond will not only be on the team, but I think he will be 3. I do not think he's going to be 2.
Interesting. Okay. I see what you're saying. I get it. I have a Kellen Mond prediction too. Okay. So he did not start the first preseason game. but the Vikings get the Niners on Saturday at US Bank Stadium. So write this down. Kellen Mond will start that game. So he did not start the first game. I'm going to write it down that Kellen Mond starts this Saturday's preseason game. Write it down. Kellen Mond will start this game and get more ample run to be the QB2 of the Vikings. Write it down.
Fair enough.
I like it.
You should be right.
I should be. I hope so. All right, Mackie from his first prediction in Chicago.
Hey, everyone. Hello from Chicago, Illinois, where old Macadac is doing some scouting of the worst team in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears. Actually, he's here for some company meetings for Hubbard Radio. But write this down. Old Macadac is going to crush this leftover piece of Lou Malnati's at some point later in the night than his digestive system should allow him to. But that can't be my actual first prediction here because you guys are going to call me on going outside the lines. So write this down. Sean Mannion will have a bounce-back performance in the upcoming preseason game this weekend. He will throw at least 2 touchdown passes. Sean Mannion will stick it to the negative Judd Zulgads of the world with at least 2 touchdown passes. Write it down.
Wow. There's so much take away from that video.
Yeah,
from the
there
pizza
really
to the
is.
digestion to the Sean Mannion
The
hatred.
prediction itself was, how can I put this nicely? Idiotic?
Yeah, that's actually one I don't like either. I'm with you on that one. You were ripping him on the Mackie Judd.
Your
portion,
Kellen Mond one is far superior.
which is saying something because all I'm saying is he's just going to start.
Right.
Like,
But I mean, yes, he should start. But I mean, Sean Mannion doesn't need to play again.
yeah.
What are you going to see from him? That's what I keep saying. There's nothing he's going to show you where you're going to be like, oh, eureka.
He disagrees. He disagrees.
All right.
Mark, your second prediction, sir.
This is one of those predictions that I really don't like when other people make them, but I'm going to have to make one because I'm reaching for this one. I heard something on national radio. Kevin O'Connor, KOC, will win Coach of the Year. I don't like this kind of prediction because it's going to take way too long to unfold. But
Doesn't bother me.
yeah, but it's
Take all the time you want.
They made a compelling argument on some national show. I can't remember who it was. I was driving in my car.
Yeah, we did a deep dive on this idea, Mark, like a couple months ago, and what ends up happening is like 90%. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but 75 to 90% of the time, the NFL Coach of the Year is usually like a first or second year head coach who surprises. It's never really like the established guy that should probably win Coach of the Year. So if like the Vikings are probably like an 11-win team, or if maybe even let's just say they win the North, probably a likely scenario because it's a regular season award that KOC wins Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I'm thinking they'll at least have to get into the playoffs for me to have a chance with that one.
I want to say in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, like Greg Popovich has never won it. Like,
That's preposterous.
Like guys that deserve it don't win it. If you're expected to be good, you don't have a chance.
All right, Judley.
All right.
Prediction number 2, sir.
Okay, continuing on my quarterback track, Zach Wilson of the Jets will miss at least the first 8 games of the season. So he's got a knee. Well, here's the problem. He suffered a bone bruise, and he also partially tore his meniscus.
Yeah.
And you'll remember, that's what kept Irv Smith out all of last season. And it's also what Adrian Peterson had, I think, back in 2016. And the issue is, and this is where teams make huge mistakes. If you go in and do a meniscus surgery that's a partial snip, the guy's back in like 4 weeks. But that's what causes arthritis and major long-term health problems with your knee. So what they usually do is they get in there and judge it. And the majority of guys now who are far more concerned about the rest of their life, which I don't blame them one bit, elect to have the full procedure done. Then you're out for months. So the Jets initially were like, it's probably 4 to 6 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks. It's going to be fine. And then they're like, well, hold on a second, because I think Wilson's people were like, if it's bad enough, we're not going to have a simple procedure done. So I think he's going to miss at least 8 games. Off the record, I won't be surprised if it's actually more. I think they're going to get in there. They're going to have to do the full procedure. And Joe Flacco is going to be your starting quarterback for the Jets for the most of the season.
So it sounds like, too, optimistically, of course, this is all being told to the NFL insiders that it was a great surgery, right? They didn't have to do the full tear. He probably will miss week 1 at the most, but he'll be back soon enough.
They've come off that, though. They're starting to come off that now and say we're not quite sure. Because if they have to go in there... So Irv Smith had the whole thing done, and that cost him an entire season.
Okay. All right, so Judd not believing the... I love Dr. Zolgad. Dr. Zolgad.
I've been doing this a long time, man. I've seen a lot of bad knees.
I like it. All right, my second prediction. I'm going to keep this theme going of over-unders. So as of Tuesday evening, the over-unders in the Vikings-Niners game was 39.5 points. So I believe it was 34.5 last week. That went over, and I said it was going to be under. I still think this is going to be a slugfest. I don't see this team either of these teams scoring a lot of points. So write it down. The Vikings and Niners will be under 39.5 points in this week's preseason game. Write it down. Write it down. I'm not buying that. That's going to be a high-scoring game by any means. All right. Second prediction from Phil Mackey.
All right. Sticking with the preseason game number 2 predictions here. Write this down. Greg the Leg Joseph will make a 50-plus yard field goal in this upcoming preseason game. Greg the Leg, going to kick one from long distance, showing off that massive thigh muscle. Greg Joseph, 50 yards or more on a field goal. Write it down.
Why did you make it uncomfortable at the end? It was fine until he said the massive thigh muscle.
Yeah,
Why did he have to make that uncomfortable?
Did not need that to happen.
That's probably accurate.
It is.
I
Greg the Leg going for a 50-yard field goal.
I could see a couple of them at least, don't you think?
Yeah, I would not disagree. He made a last week in training camp. He made a 60-yarder with room to spare.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
All right, Mark, your third and final prediction.
So I'm going Gophers since I'm a graduate of the great University of Minnesota.
Okay.
This season, the Gophers will defeat both Iowa and Wisconsin.
Whoa!
All right,
that's a touchdown pass.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, and a couple of unofficial predictions here. They're going to win the Big Ten.
Okay.
So,
ooh, are you a Metrodome Gopher guy, or were you at the?
That's when I was going to school, and that's when I went to most of the games and everything. But before the pandemic, I'd go to at least 3 games every year. I'm not a season ticket guy, but I went to games every year. I'm also a big fan of going to the wrestling meets. I love watching them wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, they're great.
Then, also volleyball. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, Royce loves.
the pass.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, they're home against Iowa, and then they're on the road against Wisconsin. But regardless, I like this touchdown prediction here from Mark on the Gopher football.
And if I'm not mistaken, PJ Fleck has never beaten the Hawkeyes, right?
I don't think he has.
He has not, right?
So
and
that'd be good.
It was Kill that never lost to him. Right?
And Kill and the 51-14 game was Kill.
Yeah.
Where they absolutely annihilated Iowa.
Amazing. Mark, before we say goodbye here, you have this enormous platform. Is there anyone in your life you'd love to shout out here before we say bye-bye?
Well, like I said, I've been following you guys for years, and I remember a long time ago listening to Mackie and Judd, and they were talking about how the expectations for the Gophers. And they were saying, well, we just want to compete with Iowa. We just want to compete with Wisconsin. And I hate that stuff. Well, I've noticed lately, you guys, and I'm thankful for this, you've changed your rhetoric. You've got that other YouTube channel. What is it? Before We Die. I just watched that the other day.
Yeah.
Right here.
You're starting to say more things. We just want trophies. We just want championships. You're starting to talk more like that. And that's me. That's the way I think. We have to expect more from our athletes. We have to expect more from our teams. And
Amen.
When people get on here and rip you guys for tearing into Cousins, I don't view it as you guys are ripping Cousin. I view it as you guys are demanding more from your athletes, and I just think that's cool. So, thanks for that. Thanks.
Demand excellence.
Thanks,
Mark.
All right, thank you. Appreciate fun.
Great predictions. Good luck on the rest.
Great job.
I'll be talking to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Some great predictions there from Mark. And he's not a paid solicitor. We did not pay him to say that by any means. We don't pay much of anyone as it is. So that was
we
very
barely
nice
pay
from Mark.
you.
Exactly. I got a contract renewal. We'll see what happens. All right. Let's see. Are we at yeah, we'll talk about that off mic. Judd, third and final.
Yes, my third and final prediction on Purple Daily. Write that down. Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh Steelers draft pick, will become the Steelers starting quarterback before November. Very impressive in week 1 of the preseason. More importantly, Mitch Trubisky, I don't think so. Who's their other guy who
Mason Rudolph?
There's been talk he'll be traded to Detroit. I don't think he has a chance. I think Mitch Trubisky's a backup. Kenny Pickett. Now, he did excel against like third teamers, so I'm not completely sold, but I do think that he will be the starting quarterback before November, which is where this gets at least a little controversial.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would assume I don't know if he's going to be the week 1 starter. Yeah, it's probably going to be Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I think he'll start week 1. But I'm saying I don't think it'll be December.
Okay. My third and final prediction of the week is actually sponsored from my friends at Underdog Fantasy, the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. In fact, I want to shout out, I believe this is my guy Hayden who sent in my slip. Show us your slips.
Show us your slips.
Email it to me via the Score North app. Look at Hayden here. You're getting a $100 payout on a $5 bet, sweating this bad boy out. He had over 1.5 receptions for Jalen Naylor against the Raiders, over 102 passing yards for Kellen Mond, over 33.5 rushing and receiving. I love these types of parlays. And in fact, it parlays perfect into my last prediction here in just a bit on Ty Chandler. And the coolest thing about Underdog is you can kind of mix and match. You can do a football prediction with baseball predictions, because if you want to bet an under on Chris Archer, which I highly recommend doing 95% of the time, you can do that. And he sweated this one out. Underdog Fantasy, join with promo code SCORE, SKOR, and they'll double your first deposit up to $100. By the way, I'm kind of working on behind the scenes, doing some daily fantasy football stuff during the week with listeners. That's going to be a fun little partnership that I want to announce as we get closer, but some great options there.
Hey, can I be involved?
Check them out. Yeah, maybe, probably no.
Why not? Why can't I be involved?
No, because I want the listeners. I want them.
Yeah, I want to be involved with you and the listeners. It sounds like fun. Well, I like Underdog. Underdog's really easy.
This one's just maybe in week 2.
Oh, so you're gonna ace me out. That's
see how
cool.
It goes.
That's
cool.
How
it goes. Yeah, you must be this young to ride the roller coaster. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So Underdog Fantasy, promo code SCORE, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. They're just basically giving you money. It's an awesome way to sweat out some things on Underdog. Download the Underdog Fantasy app. All right, my third and final prediction here, Judd. I think this is a touchdown, personally. You tell me if I'm wrong.
Let me decide.
So Kene Nwangwu and Ty Chandler will combine for at least 100 yards on Saturday, rushing and both of their numbers, rushing and receiving. They will have a combined at least 100 yards together, rushing and receiving.
It's against a preseason game.
It is not because it's a preseason game.
Yeah, well, and plus they could. It's like if you said one of them was going to, which I don't think would be smart. But combined, yes, absolutely they might. Because Dalvin's not going to play. He shouldn't play. Madison's going to play like a series. No, I think it's a good prediction. I do not think it's a touchdown.
It's in the spirit of Underdog Fantasy, because you can bet both those things combined.
Well, and you will. And you could win.
I'll be sweating it out. God, speaking of Sean Mannion here, if I can get on my soapbox, he skipped 2 of those balls to BC Johnson on Saturday. If all I needed was 2 catches from BC Johnson on Sunday, I would have had a nice payout like my guy Hayden there.
How about the Kellen Mond screen pass? You know what we didn't talk about at all? I'll just be very brief here because I tend to talk a lot.
You do.
Do you know what we didn't talk about at all? Mond's footwork needs a lot of work. Mm-hmm. The screen pass he threw that JT O'Sullivan in his YouTube breakdown brilliantly talked about, the one thing JT didn't bring up, he jumped as he threw it. He spiked that ball into the ground because he didn't plant his feet. Kellen Mond does not often plant his feet. The throw into the back of the end zone for Tristan Jackson, he didn't plant his feet. Go back and watch and I'm not joking here, go back and watch old Favre highlights. Brett Favre would scramble, but watch what he does right before he throws. He would often plant himself, and that guy had a cannon for an arm.
Yeah,
he would plant himself and heave. Go back and watch the Week 3 San Francisco pass to Greg Lewis. He plants himself and he heaves the ball. Mond has to plant himself. He's got a good arm, but he's got to plant himself.
All right, Phil Mackey's third and final prediction here to wrap things up. I'll write that down.
All right, prediction number 3 here on Purple Daily. I'm in Chicago, so I got to make a Chicago Bears prediction of some kind here. I got bad news for the Bears. I don't think they've found their solution at quarterback. Or maybe they'll just be too impatient to ride it out, or maybe they just don't have enough actual NFL caliber skill position players around Justin Fields. Whatever the reason, write this down. Justin Fields, by the end of the year, will have a QBR, so this is ESPN's QBR, of 20th or worse among quarterbacks. So, sorry Bears, you might be going back to the old drawing board that you're very familiar with. Not that the Vikings have had a lot of franchise quarterbacks, but I think Kirk is probably better than most Chicago Bears quarterbacks in history. And that prediction right there, presented by our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. Federated's been around for over 100 years. They're based in Owatonna. They're one of us. A lot of big Minnesota sports fans inside that company. And you can find all sorts of tools, tips, resources on how to help maximize the success of your business through risk management tools and resources. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.
There you go.
That's fantastic. I noticed, I don't know if you saw this, Dex, behind Phil, his hotel room, it looks a little bit dark. It looks a little bit dark, and it looks like the lighting ain't perfect. Like, look behind me. You see a lot of light, right?
Great
plentiful
Thank
light.
You. Yeah, okay.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have noticed the lights in your house are dimming, your fire alarm, it's going beep.
Went off on Friday night.
Beep, beep, and you're like, oh my God, someone has to help me. I'm going to tell you right now. Be like Judd, which is if you have a problem with electrical systems, wiring, don't try and fix it yourself. You're going to burn your house down. You're going to do something dumb. You want to pick up the phone, or more importantly, I guess in 2022, go online, and you want to check out my friends, my Purple Daily friends, my Vikings-loving friends at Finch Home Solutions. They can take care of everything from faulty outlets to flickering lights to installing or repairing electrical panels. If you need a smoke detector updated, or maybe your home needs rewiring. Again, don't try and do this. Don't try and cut corners here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not worth it. You want to protect your family. You want to protect your house. And when it comes to things like this, you want to go with the best. And no job is too big or small. FinchHomeSolutions.com. FinchHomeSolutions.com. You want a number? I'll give you a number. 612-357-2604. Don't laugh at me, Declan. 612-357-2604. FinchHomeSolutions.com. These folks are Vikings fans. But you know what they're fans of? They're fans of protecting you and your home. FinchHomeSolutions.com.
All right, that wraps up. Write that down. Prediction of Purple Daily. Judd, let me keep you here for just a little bit. We'll do a little latest Vikings news as we do on Purple Daily here. And I saw this come out on Tuesday evening. Guess who's back? Guess who's back coaching some football in 2022.
Go ahead.
Won't be at the professional ranks, but Zimmer, Mikey.
With his guy.
He's
Deion.
back. He is
with
back
his guy,
with
Deion. He's infatuated with Deion.
He is right, yeah. So Mike Zimmer has taken a job at Jackson State as an analyst for Jackson State under Deion Sanders, his buddy. In fact, this is from HBCUGameDay.com. The first sentence, when Deion Sanders calls, Mike Zimmer answers. So Mike Zimmer taking a job, and it was quoted saying, "He asked me about it a few times. The pay's not good," Zimmer said with a grin. "But I do love Deion, and I'd do anything for him." Yep. Judd, this one always kind of weirded me out. Not weirded me out, but I just was always curious. What was with Mike Zimmer's love of Deion Sanders? And Deion, who's like a very boisterous, in-your-face, and don't get me wrong, in his prime, and was an incredibly good football player.
Right.
But Deion Sanders' like personality and vibe, if that person existed in 2020, 18, Mike Zimmer's Vikings, I thought he would despise that kind of player. I kind of always been infatuated with Mike Zimmer's relationship with Deion Sanders.
So Mike coached Deion in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, because Deion was with San Francisco, and then, if I am correct on this, it's a long time ago, in the 90s, went to the Cowboys.
Yep.
I think Mike was infatuated with Deion because Deion, quite frankly, was just that damn good. Now, is it somewhat hypocritical for Mike to embrace a player like that, since he didn't embrace a lot of guys like that? Probably, but Deion was just that good.
Sure.
Here's the thing with Mike. If Mike's having fun in football again, good for him. By the end, it was very clear he hated everything about being a head coach. So I think if Mike can like reinvigorate himself and have fun coaching, because he's a really good coach. And I mean, this guy, don't, keep in mind, this guy defensively was a magnificent coach for a long time. I think he got tired at the end here, but it is sort of weird that such a boisterous guy gets Mike's attention so much. But that being said, I also think a guy like Mike, when you're a defensive backs coach and you see a guy like Dion, who flat out is probably one of the best to ever do it, you also have an appreciation. But I'm glad for Mike. If Mike has found happiness again in coaching and instructing, and can go back to be, I mean, when you saw Mike, well, you didn't, but when Mike was coaching in his first year in what would have been 2014 here, and he was and they were down in Mankato, and I saw him working with Rhodes that entire camp. And Xavier Rhodes was a nice player, but certainly not a star. And I mean, Mike devoted so much time and energy into making Rhodes into what became, for a period of time, one of the best corners in the league. Good for Mike. I'm glad. If Mike has found peace and happiness in coaching again, I'm glad for Mike.
Me too. He was also quoted saying, Mike Zimmer, that about Dion and his coaching job at Jackson State is he can open so many doors for these young men, but I'm extremely impressed with the way he's teaching them about life and not just football, and taking care of them and talking to them about the real things that go on in the world and not just the fluff stuff. So, Mike Zimmer back as an analyst in Jackson State, writing for the 33rd team, enjoying a nice cabaret. I see all the other ones I see, enjoying the grandkids.
Did you see the did you see we were tweeted this by a couple of folks. So the 33rd team is run by a bunch of former executives who have chosen to try and provide the unvarnished, what the media doesn't tell you, what the mainstream media doesn't tell you. And basically what they do is they call in their columns to writers that ghost write the pieces. Right. So did you see the quotes? So Spielman, off of week one of the preseason, breaks it down long thing about how so-and-so doesn't look. Like, he gave you a pretty in-depth look. And, like, Mike's whole thing was, like, I thought all the young quarterbacks looked great. Yeah. It's like, Mike, you didn't watch much preseason football, but that's cool. But I thought the quarterbacks look fantastic.
That's amazing.
I did hear, I can't reveal names because I'm not in a position to, nor should I. I did hear that Mike might have been checking on how Kellen Mond looked here.
Like how
like sending some.
He was asking around about
how does Kellen Mond look up there? Yes, yes. I think he was, and my guess is he watched on Sunday and saw some of those throws and said he looks the same.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that wraps up things on Purple Daily. We got joint practices: football, Vikings and Niners at TCO, and Kevin O'Connell decides to do it on Wednesday morning in the middle of Purple Daily's recording times. How dare he does that? But Judd will be there live. We will be breaking things down. So don't worry. Even though it's in the morning, we will still be able to break things down for you on this football-loving podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Daily Minnesota Vikings Entertainment, where we want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl. Shout out to everyone who has helped us pass another benchmark in followers. We appreciate you guys. No event line after preseason games, by the way. Let's just maybe get that out there in the ethos right now, because I think there was some confusion on Sunday.
We tried it once. It bombed.
It doesn't work. So, no, we will not be doing pending like someone being catastrophically injured. That's a starter. We will not be doing vent line after preseason games, but I can tell you, off-season vent line still rolls around with yours truly every Sunday morning. You can find that on this YouTube channel. So that still exists, but no in-game vent line until September 11th on about Sunday evening against the Packers. We'll be ready to rock. Can't wait. We're less than a month away from week one of the NFL season. We can't wait to get going. Hit the subscribe button for Daily Minnesota Vikings Entertainment. This is Purple Daily. We want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl.